Hey guys, in this video I'm going to show you how to get started in Space Engineers. Alright guys, here we are in the main menu, and before we get started we get to choose whether we want to play in a multiplayer or in a single player environment. If you're playing in multiplayer, just keep in mind that you're going to be limited in the amount of blocks you get to place by something called PCU. That's Performance Cost Unit, so you'll only have 20,000 PCU to work with, versus in a creative file you have 100,000 to work with. Okay, so we're gonna load a creative file but play like if we were in a public server. Okay, so I'll keep in mind PCU and enemies and all that kind of stuff, so I'll show you how to deal with that and play as in a PvP server. So notice when you click new game, you have a bunch of scenarios to choose from. If you choose, these are like missions, but once the mission is done, then you're gonna be loaded out of the world. So if you want a permanent playthrough, I would choose custom, and I would pick either distant moons, distant worlds, or home system, depending on which planet you wanna build on. If you wanna have access to Earth, Mars, and the Moon, you pick home system. If you want access to Pertam and the alien planet, you pick distant worlds. If you want Europa, Titan, and Triton, then you pick distant moons. So we're gonna pick distant worlds because we're gonna choose Pertam, and make sure that when you name a new file, you name it with a unique name. Otherwise, it's gonna override any other the other save file that shares the name. Okay, so we're gonna name it pertam2, and we're gonna click advanced settings, set environment hostility to normal, so that we have meteor showers and we have to deal with that. And I'm gonna change our sound mode to our realistic, so that there is no sound in the vacuum of space. Okay, we're ready. Let's start. Now, once you load in your game, you're going to be able to pick between a drop pod or a space ship. Spaceship is good for PvP because it's hard to find you among the asteroids. Plus, you're already in space and have access to um, uranium and magnesium and platinum. Okay, magnesium is common in every world except Pertam. Pertam is notoriously scarce. Okay, so you can spend a few hours just looking for magnesium. Okay, so just keep that in mind. But we're going to spawn in Pertam because Pertam has the strongest gravity in Space Engineers Vanilla. It has 1.2 Gs, which is 20% stronger than Earth. The resources are scarce, hard to find deposits, and when you do, they're very small deposits. Plus, thunderstorms are brutal and will destroy your structures, meaning we barely can use wind turbines because they're gonna get demolished on the next storm coming. So there's a lot of challenges that if you deal with Pertam, you pretty much can deal with any other planet. So I want to show you this. I want to show you guys this one. Okay. So let's load Pertam, and as you're descending, a good thing to do is look around so that you can figure out exactly which direction you probably want to go. Oh, I actually know where I am. I recognize this location. Okay, nice. So the parachute releases, we're descending slowly. Okay, I'm gonna zoom in. As we land, one thing you can do is open our passenger seat by pressing select, and notice we have a weapon, a few ammunition, and a data pad. This data pad will give you the GPS coordinates for a station. So you can press Y to read it, and then press Y again to create a GPS coordinate for that station. That station will appear off, not visible, but if you click it with A, it'll become visible. Notice that it turned blue. If you click it again, it turns it off, which is color white here. So let's leave it white because we're not gonna go there. But this is a good place to go in PvP because it'll have a bubble, a safe zone, and you'll be protected from meteors and from other players. Players will not be able to grind or demolish your structures. So if you wanted to log out, Just travel to a station, enter the safe zone, and then you're good to go. But also keep in mind that there's a thing called trash collection in public servers, which means that if any grid runs out of power, trash collection will remove it from the game. It'll just destroy that entire grid. A grid is a combination of blocks. Okay, so this is a battery, and you can see it has 3 bars out of 4 for energy. So once it reaches 0 and trash collection notice no players nearby, it'll remove it from the game entirely. Plus, respawn pods will, regardless of whether they have power or not, they will be removed by trash collection after a certain time, because to avoid a public server being littered with survival pods all around, of people that just spawned in and left them there. You know what I mean? Okay, but now we have landed. The first thing we want to do is grind away the antenna. The antenna is broadcasting your location to nearby players, so you want to hide that. Okay, there's also a beacon right there, where my cursor is. That is off by default, but will, if you turn it on, will also broadcast your position to enemy players. So just keep that in mind. Now what we're doing is we're grinding away blocks so that we get access to the inner part of the drop pod. Okay, that's good. Now this landing gear is only attached to this passenger seat. So as soon as you grind the passenger seat, the landing gear will become detached. So first I'm gonna grind away the landing gear, and I'm gonna grind it just below functional so that I can weld it back up. And I do this because there is a progression system to the game that works by having you build certain blocks in order to unlock the rest. Okay, so I'm not gonna confuse you with that yet, but I'm gonna show you exactly what you need to grind down and weld back up in order to unlock as many blocks as you possibly can. Okay, by just the blocks here in the drop pod. So once you weld back up the landing gear, you're good to remove it. Now with an empty passenger seat, you're good to remove it as well. Okay, and now we're going to travel over here to the back of the drop pod, and in the large conveyor port of the survival kit, we're going to attach a storage container, a medium cargo container. We find the cargo container by pressing our left thumbstick, pressing down on the left thumbstick, and then going to the gas and logistics, down direction, and pressing A twice to the medium cargo container. You place it, make sure that the conveyor ports are lined up, and then weld it back up. Okay, so now we have cleared a bit of inventory. Let's keep grinding here. Okay, and notice there is a hydrogen thruster down here. We're not going to be using this hydrogen thruster, and this is a type of block that will explode if damaged, meaning that if this block reaches health 0, all right, it'll blow up and damage all nearby blocks. So we want to keep in mind which blocks explode and which blocks don't as we're building, so that we don't put at risk any crucial components. Beacons will explode as well. Timer blocks, which is this one right here, will also explode. Conveyor ports and containers will not, but still we're gonna get rid of this. Okay, and now we should have enough to weld the medium cargo. Okay, now that you welded the medium cargo, you have unlocked the conveyor system. So you can grind away one conveyor. Well, just grind, there's has so little health that they just grind away. But you can place one conveyor anywhere and then weld it back up. and you have unlocked the sorters. So the three are landing gear, small cargo container, conveyor port, and also the armor blocks. Look, boom. Okay, by building the light armor block, we have unlocked new blocks. Okay, we can get rid of it. Get rid of the parachute. And we can finish welding this. Yep. Drop everything there, and now we have a place to empty our inventory. Okay. Now, the next thing you want to do is build a cockpit, because that'll give you access to the gyroscope, and that would be the last thing needed to make this starship flyable. I mean, this survival pod. Starship is an overstatement. So there, notice that the cockpit has two ports that line up with the survival kit. You can connect them there, and now you can weld up the cockpit. Notice we're missing supplies, so this is the perfect time to use the build planner, and the build planner will keep track of what we're missing versus what we have in our current inventories versus what we need to produce. So it's very convenient, so that we're not manually saying like, oh, I need 5 displays, create 15 computers. No, you don't need to track any of that. Okay, just point your welder at the cockpit, have build cockpit, and press the LT. Yep, LT, and it'll add the components to the build planner. Now, when you access any inventory, you'll notice that there are two options, two buttons here in the middle. One is an arrow to withdraw everything from the build planner, and the other one is to add the missing components to the production queue. So in our inventory, we were missing 14 computers and 5 displays in order to finish this cockpit. So the build planner knew that we were going to be missing those, and subtracted it from the ones, subtracted the ones that we already had from the ones we needed, and only put into production the ones we needed. So that's very convenient for you to save resources as well, so that you're not wasting on things that you don't need built. Okay, now we'll need, in order to build this, we'll need to smelt ingots from stone. All right, so you can queue 1 ingot at a time, or you can hold RB and LB and queue up 1,000. So as long as you chuck stone in, you will be refining automatically. Now, in order to find stone, you're gonna want to dig deep until wow, it's really far away. This is still all sand. There it is. Alright, here it is. This is the difference. So this texture right here, this is stone, this is sand. You want to dig until you reach the stone. Once you reach the stone, you can harvest, and it's going to be very efficient. You're going to get a lot of stone. Alright, with a full inventory, we have plenty of stone to make the survival pod flyable. Okay, while that's producing, let's see. Let's check the production. Notice that it's building components with priority, but that's only because the ingots are queued up after the components. So it only smelts ingot when it doesn't have enough ingots already to build the components. So notice, it'll build a data pad, it runs out of silicon, so it goes ahead and starts making ingots again. Once it has enough silicon, it goes ahead and makes another display. I mean, not that a bad display. So yeah, otherwise, if the ingots were first, it would keep smelting ingots with priority until it ran out of stone. And only once it's done with the ingots, it'll begin doing the components, even if it has ingots to build components with. So that it's the order. It's the order matters in terms of priority. It's how you assign priorities to the builder. Now that it's done building the components, we can just point and weld, and we have a functional cockpit, and we have unlocked as well the gyroscope. So we can get steel plate here and select the gyroscope, and I place it right here. It doesn't matter where you place it really. Now I want to make sure I had the missing bulletproof glass. Notice that the cockpit is missing bulletproof glass. That's because you cannot craft that in a survival kit. You need an assembler. So we cannot build that yet, but it still doesn't stop us from using the cockpit. It just has reduced health. Alright, so we can still fly it, which is perfect. Now, I wanted to clear that from the build planner because the build planner, since it hasn't finished that cockpit, is still tracking it. So I want to press Y on the cockpit to remove it, and now I want to press X on the gyroscope to add it. But that's a full gyroscope, so I'm going to remove it, and I'm just going to queue this one, which is it's going to subtract the 20 steel plates that it already has installed.
Fuel critical.
It says I cannot withdraw 5 plates and 3 computers. So we're gonna have to add those to the build planner, to the production queue, I mean. Now, notice I am out of fuel. What we can do is click on the survival kit here, and we're not gonna be able to refuel because our generator is now disconnected. Sorry. So we can pull out the hydrogen tank, and that'll refill our hydrogen. Now the build planner should be done. Yes, we got all successfully withdrawn. And then gyroscope. Good to go. Now, before you start flying around, do one thing. Okay, go to your control panel, click on the eye icon to show hidden blocks, and then group the atmospheric thrusters by selecting them all. You can hold RB, and it'll group them, or it'll allow you to select multiple, and then block group, and then save. And now it's created a group. Now we can queue in. Notice there is also, as long as you're in a cockpit, there's also a D-pad so that you can assign quick slot items. We're gonna say group thrusters toggle block on. Downwards is gonna be group thrusters toggle block off. Left is gonna be gyroscope on and off, and then right is gonna be ore detector on and off. These blocks consume electricity, so we're gonna want to be able to turn them on and off to save power. Excuse me. Now we're ready to fly. Okay, so first thing before you fly is turn on your thrusters. They're off by default. Okay, you can press A and you should see a jet stream below them. That's how a good way to tell if you have a hard time telling. And now notice we have 3 landing gears and they're all locked. What we can do, we can look for our landing gear here and group them as well. And I don't like typing, so I say LG for landing gear. Okay, and now what we can do is we can create another quick slot for group LG, and we say unlock. This will unlock all 3 of them at the same time, and now we're flying. Okay, so as you're flying, now that you're flying and airborne, you want to do what I forgot to do is set a GPS coordinate to your destination. I have already mapped 10 base locations, awesome alpha PvP base locations. So feel free to watch that video and pick one for yourself and load it into the GPS coordinates here so that you make your way towards a permanent base, not just like a temporary outpost kind of thing. Remember PCU? You wanna save PCU, and one way to do that is to not have multiple bases. It's a good idea to have spawn points, like different spawn points, but it's not an official base, a massive base. It's just a place to spawn and get back up. And start it if you get raided, so that you don't get wiped out of the server. All right, but that looks good. Now I'm gonna put in the coordinates for the location I'm going to. It's gonna be ice steps. Like, this is what I call it. All right, now the coordinates are gonna be -3982619 for X. Okay, Y is gonna be -57867.62, and then Z is gonna be -762755.28. Nice. All right, so let's look. That is over there. It's 48 kilometers away from us, almost at the other side of the planet. Don't be discouraged because it only takes 10 minutes flying at max speed to get there. So now I'm going to uh, start a time lapse so that you don't have to stay here the 10 minutes. We're gonna fast forward until our destination, but I'm gonna show you the track. Before I do that, just note that in order to navigate, you have to tilt the starship to one side or another and keep an eye out on your meters per second. Um, if you're fully leveled on, you can use the level, the notice that there is a level on the right bottom corner. You can use that to tell how much your ship is faring in one direction. But if you level it perfectly, it'll stop gaining momentum. If you angle it, it'll start gaining momentum. So you'll have to, in order to reduce it, go to the opposite angle, reduce it. You just gotta point your thrusters in order to, because we only have downward thrust right now. Okay, but with that said, those are how to control the ship. Pretty important, right? Okay, time lapse. So I just aim towards the place, get the ship level, and we're off. Alright, we touched down, landed. It was a bit of a rough landing, almost crashed there a bit, but yeah, we made it. Nice. Alright, so here we are in the ice steps. It only took us kind of like 6 or 7 minutes to get here. So yeah, don't be discouraged if the base location says 50 kilometers. You'll get there in no time. Don't worry. All right. So I'm gonna leave this video here because the next thing we gotta do is build the base location, power it with solar panels so that it doesn't get destroyed by lightning storm. Solar panels, and then place a battery and a survival kit. That way, during the daylight, that battery recharges, and the survival kit will always be powered on, even at nighttime, because when the solar panels cannot produce anymore, then the battery kicks in. So that will give you a permanent place as long as no one raids it to spawn back in. So that's the next step because trash collection is gonna destroy our respawn pod. So yeah, keep that in mind. But yeah, I'll leave it here and see you on the next one, guys. Bye. Oh, don't forget to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell. All right, see you guys.